So here's part 2 of misconceptions about autism. If you've not seen part 1, please go ahead and watch that video, because that one is kind of the starting point of some of my biggest bugbearers as to what people believe is autism that is fundamentally harming so many people, and so many people understanding but also connecting with people who do not fit that generic mold. This is actually technically number 6, but I'm just going to renumber them 1 to 5. You can't be autistic because you don't look autistic. This is infuriating. What is that, by the way? What have you decided that looks like? Because it is incorrect. I can tell you that for a fact. That is incorrect. There is no look. It sits in many different ethnicities. It sits in many different people, also with other disabilities. It is both female and male. It is non-binary. It does not have a look. So the moment that you decide that it does means that you are limiting, one, your knowledge, but you're also limiting your ability to meet that person and understand that person. And that is just painful. It's a hidden disability. It's hidden. If it's not visible, then it doesn't exist. Then would that be true for mental health too? It's hidden. Would that be true for anything that you can't physically see? That opens up a whole new doorway of a conversation, doesn't it? But that is just something that is one of those things that it has to be on the list. Number 2 is that autism has one, that Asperger's still exists, which it doesn't, and that it has a high and low functioning, and this equates to how much that person is struggling or suffering. No. We're now completely steering away from the idea that there is a high and low functioning, rather that it is a spectrum, which is like a circle where you may score higher on certain parts and lower on certain parts, but everybody who meets the criteria is struggling and suffering at the hands of whatever it is they are struggling and suffering with. There is no more, there is no less. And the reason this actually upsets me is the idea that if you were seen as Asperger's at once upon a time or high functioning, then the assumption would be that you are kind of closer to being neurotypical, which is just not true. And that means that you are suffering less. And how unfortunate for those people who sit in what you define that to be and are struggling and suffering and being constantly disabled by their environment and by the judgment of others, and how it is just seen as so much less than somebody who maybe is non-verbal and they're basically their typical mold of what they think autism is. That's really upsetting, because it isn't any less and it isn't any more. Everybody is struggling in their own unique way. Everybody has their strengths in their own unique way, because I am an advocate for that personally. Again, take what fits for you, make your own opinions, form your own opinions. But I do believe what I've seen on the autistic spectrum is that it is just disabling. In fact, it has many unique quirks and strengths that I find endearing, captivating, and exceptional in nature. I actually think, and I'm not saying that this is true in terms of what I'm about to say is every single person who's changed the world is obviously autistic. I'm not saying that, although, I don't know. Anybody who doesn't fit the mold, who isn't just a carbon copy, who doesn't just kind of have this herd mentality, but they exceed in an area far past the capacity of what is expected because they are super interested in that or whatever, or they are obsessively interested in that they have to know everything and more about that, or they have to stand up for that in a way that hasn't been done before, whatever it might be. They are the people who change the world. And I think that is important to note, because that is so many, if not all, the autistic people that I know. Anyway, I digress. Number 3 is that it's a childhood condition, and it obviously just affects boys. Again, this kind of links into some of the other ones that I mentioned. It is not a childhood condition. You cannot grow out of it. It is a lifelong neurological difference that is labelled a disability due to it feeling like the way that the world is set up, that it is a disadvantage to experience the sensitivities that you do in that way. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know if it actually did. Now I've heard it out loud, but hopefully it did. If it didn't, please tell me. I will try to reword it in the comments in a way that makes sense. And number 4 would be that all autistic people also have learning disabilities. This is not true. This is actually what I kind of already have spoke about, but if you believe that that is true, it means that you, again, I'm not calling anyone out when I say this, because I had a limited view on what autism was when I was at high school because of what I was taught that it was directly. It's because people are misinformed, and then they pass on that misinformation, and then people pick it up and don't question it until they have to question it. And that is what so many people are doing now, which I'm super grateful for. It's okay to, with better and more information, to change your mind. And number 5 would be that it's curable and that it's caused by vaccines. I just find this really unsettling and upsetting, because that message alone fundamentally says that there is something wrong with people who are autistic. There is nothing wrong with them. They are different. And difference does not equal bad. You'll hear me say that all the time. But we are taught that it does. And it's infuriating to think that people are still looking for a cure of their children. Like, there is something that needs to be fixed inside of them because it is wrong. This is wrong on so many levels. It's so disgusting. And I know you don't want, and I'm equal to this, I know you don't want your children to suffer. I know that you want them to have a happy and fulfilled life. But a happy and fulfilled life does not live inside shunning it, pretending that it doesn't exist, or alternatively searching for a cure, or making out that something else caused this and that's the reason why they are autistic, different. That's not the way. The way that they live a happy and fulfilled life, love equals being seen and understood. So do that. See them, understand them, and enable their environment to meet and support their needs so that they can thrive. It's so important to do that. And you will, I can promise you, especially if you do this young, and I know there's only so much protection that we can do for our children, I understand that. But the more that you will see that not every day has to be a bad day for them. And a little bonus one I want to kind of add is that autistic people do not understand social cues. Incorrect. In fact, like I said on the first video, they could have hypersensitivity. The fact that this feels off, this feels awkward, that makes me just want to not say anything. I might go mute, I might shut down, I might now not be able to feel like I can process or act or connect in the same way. But that's the opposite of not understanding. That's being hyper aware of it and actually feeling extremely uncomfortable with it, but not always having the tool belt of how to navigate that because they're so used to being judged. And I also think that it's really important to note that when they can become comfortable being themselves, you will see them socially thrive and connect. And although it might look different to what some people deem as acceptable, like deep diving into something they are so interested in and so passionate about, or their levels of excitement can't be contained, or that they aren't sure whether to give too much, or in that constant battle of I don't know how to give anything then because I'm feeling really uncomfortable here, is not, again, it's just different. It's not bad. And the more that we can nurture people where they're at and meet them where they're at rather than tell them that they should be somewhere else, or acting like something else is the moment that people begin to thrive. Again, do you think that there are even more? I know that there are, and I'm curious as to which other ones you also think are important. Which other ones do you think are misconceptions, common misconceptions, or maybe uncommon misconceptions about autism that you think that we need to deep dive into, or you just want to rant about because they're so stressful, or you just kind of, want me to deep dive into it more so that I can do some more on these? Please do let me know, and I'll speak to you soon.